Love__judging a very educational and heartwarming love story. Sarah is a girl from Harar. She started living in our city, Addis Abeba, when her father left Harar for work and moved to Sheger. When Sarah was 13 and turned from a child to a teenager, her beauty was no longer as beautiful as when she was a child. Sarah, on the other hand, had a round nose. Her hair was not as dark as it was when she was a child. Sarah, on the other hand, had a red nose. Her hair was not as dark as it was when she was a child, and her skin was as white as a red rose. Therefore, when she was always with her beautiful school friend Betty, many students would make fun of her. Sarah is a woman who does not trust herself. When the 7th grade was over and the summer came, Sarah was so happy that she had no idea that the reason for leaving home was education. She was very happy because she did not have education. Although her father knew this, he could not do anything. She did not know her mother. She thought that this must have affected her. Her father decided to marry an older woman and married an older woman. Her work brought a girl who looked like a girl in her early teens. The first day she saw her, Sarah was not happy, but she accepted because she respected her father. Months passed. The 8th grade quarter exam arrived. Sarah got up at night and went to the living room to study. She went from her bedroom to the living room and turned on the light. She couldn't believe what she saw. Her father was lying on the floor, covered in blood, and her stepmother, Martha, was tied to a bench under the door with her mouth gagged. Sarah couldn't scream. The shock combined with the dark night, and she ran in fear. She tried to wake him up, but her father, who had raised her, did not return until the next day. Sarah told the police that the killers of her father were thieves, but inside she was saying something. "How could your stepmother, Martha?" She survived. "I didn't hear a sound when all this happened. There was no property missing in the house." All this unsolved mystery roams in Sarah's mind. Her father continued her education after she was 40. Her stepmother, Martha, promised to teach her like a mother and continued her life. Sarah had one dream. When she finished her studies, she studied law and tried to find criminals and bring them to justice. Meanwhile, one Thursday, while she and her beautiful friend Betty were walking home, a beautiful and handsome student from the campus approached them, greeted them, and joined them. While the three of them were talking about their studies and their future plans, and joking around, they reached their neighborhood and had to part ways and went to their respective homes. On the second day, they went together, and from then on, the three of them became good friends. This did not end there. Although Lowell was fascinated by Betty's external beauty, he fell in love with Sarah without realizing it. Sarah laughed when she talked and smiled, but no matter what, she gave him feelings. He would be sad if he did not meet her, but he could not hide this feeling. He told Betty to tell him to tell Sarah in front of her. Now Betty was jealous of her friend because she was beautiful and looked at him with a smile. Sarah's love for her made her angry. When Sarah told her to stop going with this boy, she told him that he was making fun of her appearance. Sarah told her that Betty believed in her and loved her, so she told Lowell to look at her. When Lowell asked Betty what was wrong, she said, "How can he ask me a question about love?" She separated them. Sarah, who was a good student, pretended to love Lowell, and when they separated, she started to stare at the picture of her mother, whom she did not know, while complaining about the God who created her appearance and deprived her of her father. One day, Sarah went to school and looked at herself very much. She went home at noon. The outside door was opened by a worker. When she took off her shoes on the balcony, she realized that there were many people in the house. Suddenly, a sentence rang in her ears. "We will bury her like her father and live freely." Ha ha ha, long laugh. Sarah understood everything now. Her stepmother had confirmed that her father had been killed. She sat on the porch and sat there for a long time in anger. "How unlucky I am," she complained to herself. "Sarah, when did you come?" Martha said without thinking. Sarah also didn't know why. She stood up in shock. She said, Come, let me introduce you to someone. She went back inside. She didn't seem to mind her shock. Sarah was confused, wondering who it could be. She followed her inside. When she entered, 2 women and a young man were sitting on the sofa. She hugged them one by one and stood up. Sarah said, "It's her." She seemed to be introducing them. "They are my friends. He is also." When I finished speaking, my phone rang. Sarah went into her bedroom and lay down, looking at the photo of her mother, whom she had never met, and her father, whom she had lost without getting enough of it. She started crying, feeling like the Creator had forgotten her and didn't even know her. In the middle, she remembered Lulu and said, "What if I don't know you?" She fell asleep while saying that, but she was more scared than usual. She was afraid every minute. Just like her father, he was planning to kill her. It was certain that she would lose her life or lose her home. Both were dangerous for her. Even if she lost her life, she had no choice because she had no way out. Even if she lived, she had no choice because death was destined for her. Sarah started to cry day after day. Even worse, when her husband, Sarah's father, died. She married a man half her age and left him. The so-called husband taught Sarah and took care of her like an older brother. Sarah became even more confused. Meanwhile, the ministry exam arrived. This time, Lulu gave Sarah a novel called A Pierced Heart. She was eager to read it when she got home. As soon as she got home, her first task was to open the book. She found a carefully folded piece of paper inside and started reading. "Sariti, before school was closed and we parted ways, let's forgive each other for our past mistakes. It's strange that I loved you. My love was right, but in your eyes it was wrong. The book I gave you will teach you a beautiful life of love. Even if my dear love makes you sad, I can't stop, because I will still love you in the future," says Amba. When she finished, she felt a mixture of happiness and sadness. Her happiness was Lul, and her sadness was her friend Betty. Sarah didn't want to write an answer to Lul. They didn't meet for more than 2 days, because their exam dates were different. She went to the village and called Lul from his house. When she saw him, he was shocked. But then their eyes met, and before they could say a word, their hearts shared love. From that day on, Sarah and Lul became one. "Even if I die," Sarah told Lul about everything that had happened. His heart was broken. She decided that she would soon leave that house and make things right. They began. July was over, and August was about to take its turn. One bad morning, Martha left the house. The people in the house were Sarah and Martha's husband. Sarah did not trust the man.
But she loved him, so she did not fear him, but her. But that day, this young man desired Sarah for his physical feelings. With great difficulty, he got her to swallow a sleeping pill. Sarah fell asleep soundly. Now he began to rush to take off his clothes to rape her. When he started to take off her clothes to rape her, the door slammed shut on her. He gathered his clothes and went into the shower and started to wash himself. The maid opened the door for her. Martha entered. She said, "My husband, how did you come to me today?"
She heard the sound of the shower and did not answer her. She went into the kitchen talking alone and served food. She heard the maid eating. "Didn't Sarah come?" She asked her, and the maid told her that Sarah was coming in. Sarah slept for hours. Martha was confused and started to open the door. Her husband was afraid because he knew his job. When she woke up after 10 hours, she felt very heavy. Martha asked her, "What happened to you?" Sarah didn't answer Martha and went into the bathroom and tried to remember.